You're listening to a Pop House Network podcast for developers by developers.
Okay. Hello and welcome to Stack Podcast, episode number 62, recorded in November, on November 18th, 2022. My name is Kito Man, whatever you want to call me anyways. My name's Kito, and I'm your host, and I'm here with one of my co-hosts, Josh Juno. Hello, Josh.
Hey, how are you?
I am doing okay. Unfortunately, our other co-hosts, Daniel Hinojosa and Ian Levitz, could not make it, although they may make cameo appearances later. We'll have to see. They both have other engagements going on. So it looks like it's you and I, Josh, and our special guest, who we'll introduce in just a minute. So before I begin, what have you been up to? It's been, I think we recorded in early October, was it last time? Something like that?
Yeah, it's been a jam-packed month, I think, for you as well. There have been some conference activities, which is great because I've not been to an in-person conference for a long time. And then in September, I was able to go to JConf in Chicago, which was great.
Cool.
And then in the end of October here, I did attend JavaOne. So I think we'll talk more about that once the show gets going here. But that was a great time and got to see you for a while. So that was always nice. And also our guest host here. So yeah, it's always a good time to do that. Work has been going well. And just keeping going along. Everyone's staying healthy, which is good.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. My family has just been like getting constantly sick with everything that's not COVID.
No.
Although we haven't gotten the stomach flu yet, which is going around. But
hopefully you'll steer clear.
Yeah. It's a little sketchy when half of a class is gone with it and stuff like that.
Yes.
We'll see what happens. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, we did have, one of mine was down for a few days and half of the class in that case was also out with it. So yeah, we've had that going around as well, but luckily the rest of us have stayed healthy.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's good. Yeah. If you can only have part of the house be sick, that's a good sign.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, I've been, pretty much the same boat. Started doing in-person conferences again. Did JavaOne, where we saw Josh and our guest and lots of other people, and that was just great to see people. It's been so long since I had actually been to an in-person conference with people that I've known forever. And so we'll talk more about JavaOne. I just went to a local conference called RVA JS because I live in Richmond, Virginia, which is also called the River City. But anyways, so RVA means Richmond, Virginia. So it was a JavaScript conference. Just a one-day conference, but it was nice to be able to go to something local that's a conference. Yeah. So that was kind of fun.
Nice.
Yeah. And then also we did do sort of a beta launch of our SpeakerTrax project, which is that tool I mentioned on the last podcast that helps frequent speakers keep track of their sessions. Yeah. So right now you can sign up for the beta, but you can check it out at SpeakerTrax.com. So you can go there. And also what I did was one of the features of SpeakerTrax is that you can publish your bio or your profile of all your speaking engagements if you want to. So you can see if you go to kitoman.com, you can find like all of my speaking engagements and it's generated by SpeakerTrax.
Nice.
But also I'm using it just in general as because I never bothered creating my own personal website before. so I was like, okay, this is convenient. I can have all my sessions and links and stuff on there. So, so that's up there now.
It's definitely nice to have a place to organize all your talks.
Yeah. So we'll see how it goes, but at least it's been fun to work on.
Yeah.
All right. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our speaker, our special guest, Emily Jiang. And did I mispronounce your name, Emily? I'm bad with names.
You did it really well.
Woohoo! Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So if you're involved in the Jakarta EE or Microprofile space or Open Liberty or anything along those lines, you've probably heard of Emily. She is a Java champion and a Liberty cloud native architect and chief advocate at IBM. And I see her at conferences all the time, and see her on mailing lists all the time. And she recently wrote a book called Practical Cloud Native Java Development with Microprofile, which Josh has. Show Josh, come on. Woohoo!
Yeah.
There it is. All right. So I have not read this book, but I'm sure it's wonderful, Emily. So welcome to the podcast. Thanks so much for joining us.
I have a special copy as well. I want to thank Emily for signing my copy. Very nice.
Nice.
Very glad to have this. I really appreciate it. It's a great book. I haven't made it through the whole thing, but I've read parts of it and it's very well written.
Oh, thank you, Josh. Yeah, it is a great honor to be here. And I know Josh and Kito for a long time. And also, this year I met Josh twice. So all the conferences you have been, I was there. I met Kito once at JavaOne. So it's a great. Same here. I feel the in-person conference is really nice. I really miss the in-person conference because you could do the kind of private chat, the corridor chat. So this kind of thing you cannot do in the virtual conferences. Is so good.
Yeah. It's funny. I don't think I realized how much I missed it until I went, and I was like, oh wait, this is really nice, But so why don't we start with our initial topic then while we're talking about conferences. So JavaOne happened, which was part of Oracle Cloud World. And this was the first year in a long time where they actually had an official JavaOne conference. If you followed the trials and tribulations of Java over the years, when it changed to stewardship from Sun to Oracle, when Oracle bought Sun, they sort of changed the conference thing around. They kept on. Each year it's kind of different. It's like it turned into Code One for a while, and it was like that for a long time. And this is the first time where they tried to actually create a JavaOne conference again. Even though it's part of the larger Oracle world, it had its own vibe and everything. And I think a lot of the organization came together late, so I think it's probably smaller than it could have been. But I think it turned out really well overall. And I was wondering what you guys thought.
Yeah, I feel the same. Actually, you see the most familiar faces, and also the great sessions, right? And then we had a really nice chat. So it's around Java. So it's basically a lot of Java related ecosystems, kind of the open source projects there, and you heard all the latest news about Java. And it's great. It's the most important thing is we just get together and have fun. And the location-wise, it was quite nice. I quite like basically in that the CSF forum. So basically, it's one exhibition hall, and then opened into all the kind of the rooms sessions. You don't need to come out and then do your run a circle and try to find out which room.
Yeah, it was all in like one building. It was like really, really nice.
I liked it. Yeah, there's something to be said about walking into a room and seeing so many faces you hadn't seen in person after so long. And that was it's almost an overwhelming feeling and very great. And it brings together, I'm sure with any other community, the Java community is such a great thing to be part of. And JavaOne really encapsulated that for me this year. And I wanted to also say, yes, I do think that the venue was very nice. I do miss one thing about San Francisco, and the one thing is I really liked the tents outdoors. that was nice because you had an outdoor cafe kind of, and then with the band, they were outside and you could go out there and enjoy it. But then you could go inside and and it was silent in the sessions, which was nice. But the way that they set up the Caesars Forum was almost perfect. Everything was really well organized. Great to not have to walk outside and, like you said, Emily, around the block or down the street to the other hotel. It's nice to have it all in one location.
Mhm.
The only one thing I would change would be to put up a tent outside at Caesar's Forum next time, and maybe have some of the stuff outside, because that was a nice outdoor space.
Yeah, they have a lot of space
Oh.
for it. They really
They
could.
did.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
if you
Yeah,
put the
that's
band
true.
out there,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you could go out there to listen, I think that would
Yes.
be ideal.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's great. That's awesome idea, because the one complaint I heard is the kind of because the band was playing, and at the same time is
Yeah.
there was a session in progress, and then they couldn't really hear what the speakers are talking about, because the band was so loud. Yeah, this is a great idea, Josh. So the band, and it's so warm, band can go outside. Yeah.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, the band we're talking about is the Null Pointers, which is a band of Java industry folks, and then they play every year at JavaOne, and it's always just fun because if you've been in the community, you know the people who are playing, and they just
sound great.
Yeah. Tell you a very funny story. It's a few years ago. It was my first JavaOne. It must be 6 or 7 years ago. And then walked to the kind of the evening gathering, and then I said, oh, there's a band. And then I saw, oh, it's kind of just like some other famous band, and they kind of invited people in. I said, oh, that person looks like I have seen it. I said, oh, all of them. And then I was told, oh, they are these Java folks. So funny. Yeah.
And what I like about it is that, I dabble in music, but I call myself like an amateur musician and a professional computer geek, right? So I can't really play that well with other people. I mean, I can sort of, but not really. But these guys, they never play, and then just get together and they play, which is cool. Like they're actually good at playing their instruments. So
cool.
Yeah. So
and I liked the venue Vegas. It was great, because then when you weren't at the conference, there were lots of other things to do close by, and I was out there with my wife, and we did go ahead after the conference was over. At the end of the week, we took a day there, and we went to Red Rocks, and that was only a half hour away, and it was really nice. Lots of great things in that small area, much like there were in San Francisco as well. But it was nice to have a change of pace.
Yeah, and I like that too. I didn't really do much else, but just the fact that if you're bored, you never get bored, right? You're just finding stuff to do, and you don't have to really go anywhere to find it.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, it's I planned to join the running over there. Is organized by Eva Grimstan. I said, I'm in, and even then I found out the running happening on Sunday, but I only arrived Sunday evening, and so I was really disappointed. I missed them all. Yeah. So it's next time, if hopefully JavaOne is still happening next year. If it happens again, go there again next year, I really want to do a running.
I would Canyon. I can't really run, but I would do a bike ride if they organized a bike ride. And
you could.
I would do
Take your bike. Rent a car, could rent a minibus or something, take the bike. And I think it's there's the garage is when they are not for run, but it just took a really nice photos.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
So it's
I want to say one more thing. I do have a friend, ironically, that lives in Vegas, and he used to live in San Francisco, but he decided it was too expensive, so he moved to Vegas. And so now I get to visit him when I come to JavaOne in Vegas as opposed to San Francisco. And he took me to Red Rocks on Saturday.
Oh, nice.
Wow,
nice, right?
lucky you.
Yeah, like I didn't even know about it. And he's just like, hey, you want to go to this Red Rocks place? And I'm like, want to go on a hike? I'm like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And it was really beautiful. It is.
It's
really nice out there. Definitely.
It is real nice. And it's so close to the city. It's crazy how quiet it is out there, and you feel like you're out in the middle of nowhere, and it's only half hour away.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know so close. Yeah, next year, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's move on. I just wanted to mention a few announcements from JavaOne before we get to a bunch of questions for Emily. So if you, first of all, there is a JavaOne content feed at inside.java. All the links you can find at stackpodcast.com, STACD podcast.com. So that's a good place to find some of these links as well, but there are some in our show notes. So one of the things I thought was cool was that they're moving the GraalVM just-in-time compiler and native image features into the OpenJDK. So I think that'll just help them sort of manage everything easier, as opposed to having two big projects that are separate. So that's kind of cool. And Emily, you mentioned there's sort of so GraalVM is lots of different things, right? It's the native image generation part, and then it's also the polyglot development part, which to me I think is underrated in terms of functionality, which lets you build applications using JavaScript or Python sort of, and other languages, C, C++, etc. But in terms of the native image stuff, Emily, you were saying there's an alternative that, and just if you're not aware, the benefit of the primarily touted benefit of native image is the ability to start up quickly. Which is important for cloud applications. So if you have a cluster or you're using Lambdas, you can spin up one quickly and it doesn't take a long time to get going. So Emily, you were saying that Liberty Instant On gives you sort of a similar level of functionality. You want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, so basically it's as you have said. So for GraalVM, it's build kind of use a build time compilation, and then eventually you get executable. However, there's a couple two major drawbacks. One is kind of is executable, is no longer on JVM. So it's a lot of the instrumentation tool, or something if it goes wrong, you won't no longer insert and then trying to to see what's going on inside. So this is one thing. Analytics tool is kind of offhand. The other thing is kind of because it's executable and also is for the throughput, basically it's static. Also, you can get a quicker startup. However, once it's started and over time is the kind of performance is static. So it's based on this, the Linux the one of the features is called CRIU, so checkpoint restore in user space. So this is a new technology. Basically, it's almost like you take a snapshot and then restore it. So it's OpenJ9 and OpenLiberty go together and create a new feature called Instant On. So basically, it's you can basically it's take a checkpoint and then restore. So in this way, once you start your application, you take a checkpoint, and then is if in Kubernetes, if you basically under heavy load, you might need to spin up a lot of pod, and when you spin up, basically you have the checkpoint, you directly install the image, you got all the cache and etc. It's like the application start within a few hundred, couple 100 milliseconds. Is a kind of, and then you got a really good performance for the throughput and service request, etc. So there's no knowing a disadvantage. So for the instant on, obviously you can do checkpoint at any time. However, you don't really want to do checkpoint during the transaction, right? So the safest place you do the checkpoint in for Liberty, basically we identify 3 locations. You either install the runtime, so basically all the Liberty a kernel or started. So it's at this time. This is a low level one. The other level is the whole runtime started. So this is second level. And then at this time, you got a runtime or the cache and etc. The third level, which is the most performant, is the application started before it serve any request. In this case, like no transaction whatsoever could have happened. There's no in the middle of the request, etc. So at this time, if you take a checkpoint now, and from now on, you get like a warm start all the time. There's no more cold start. So this is kind of when you do the checkpoint, then you can redo your Docker image. So basically, almost like repack your Docker image, and then you use that Docker image for all the kind of the instance creation. So for the new any port like instance, you will use this Docker image.
Gotcha. I think that's pretty cool. It's also a pretty logical way to handle if the main thing you're looking for is just a startup time, then you basically solve that. And I think you're right about the whole idea of still having the JVM tooling, because once you've got that native image, like if you want to do debugging or instrumentation or any of that stuff, you're in completely different world.
Yeah, absolutely. This is my synergy is it's almost like you sail a boat in the ocean. So it's sorry, you are on your own. So this I will say the instant-on is great advantage. Oh, by the way, there's in openliberty.io, there's a blog, it's called instant-on, and has a huge details about how the technical knowledge works, and also you can there's a step-by-step for people to try it out. It's awesome.
Cool. And does it work only with OpenLiberty, or does it work with anything else?
It's only work with OpenLiberty because that's with the OpenLiberty feature. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Cool. All right. So in other news, Oracle will actually start creating JavaFX builds again. Now, Josh, you're the person that pays more attention to JavaFX. They stopped doing that a long time ago, right? And now I'm a little confused about like.
So I'm not 100% certain on exactly what they're going to be doing besides the the builds. Yes, they're going to be distributing the builds, but I'm not sure that it's part of the JDK again. That was what happened before. They took it out of the JDK. We used to be able to download it, and JavaFX was part of it, and you didn't have to download it separately. I don't understand and I haven't looked far enough into it. That's why I don't understand if you're going to still have to download this separately. I think you may, but that being said, Oracle hasn't distributed it for quite some time. It's just been through the third party Gluon.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of nice. It kind of means that they're paying attention to it again, which is good, I think.
Yeah, and they've also got OpenJFX, so you've been able to get it that way as well. But it seems as though now Oracle is now going to have their distribution of it, which is nice. Kind of putting some support behind it. I mean, it's pretty important because if you look at the way things go as far as Java desktop, JavaFX is it. It's in my opinion, the route to go when developing a Java desktop application. You don't really want to be using Swing anymore.
Right.
Swing is really quite old nowadays. So it's good to have that, coming directly from Oracle and being supported like that.
Yeah, and in terms of cross-platform UIs, the web has won with Electron and stuff like that, basically. But like, it's good to have a way to do it in Java. Like you should, you should have a way to do the app all in Java if that's what you want to do. So
yeah, and I know I can remember about 10 years ago or so, there was a keynote, I think, at one of the Java ones, and they mentioned that JavaFX was going to be usable on iOS. That really piqued my interest because I would love to be able to develop an iOS app using JavaFX, and it's still not possible. And I think that they dropped support for that, but I do know that Gluon and others have created solutions for doing such things. So, not only just for Java desktop applications, but also for mobile. JavaFX is something good to look into if you're interested.
Yeah, definitely. Another interesting, I think a really kind of brilliant announcement from Oracle is that they've backported all of the performance enhancements in JDK 7 up to between JDK 8 and JDK 7 to JDK 8. So if you have some ancient version, so if you have some JDK 8 app and you don't want to bother with upgrading it, but you are willing to pay for a Java SC subscription enterprise performance pack, you can basically have a new version JDK 8 that actually is really fast.
Yeah.
And I presume it has all the latest security patches as well, which I think is actually a brilliant move by them, because there are companies that'll be like, okay, if we just pay money, our apps will become a lot faster. And we just upgrade the JDK. So I thought it was a smart move for them.
Yeah, for sure. And it looked to me like they had some pretty nice tools that came along with that as well. So you could kind of monitor your performance and whatnot.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that looked pretty nice.
Yeah. So I'm actually glad that because I think for me, the longest time they'd have this Java SC subscription. And I always wondered what the purpose was. Like, I understand that they want to make money off of Java, which is perfectly logical. But I was like, well, unless I'm some huge company and I'm going to call Oracle if there's a problem with the JDK, I didn't really see a benefit, So for now, they're starting to roll out things that are actually adding value. A lot of open source companies do, right? They'll have, their core product, and then they'll build an ecosystem of commercial products around it that you can subscribe for, right? So the other thing they announced, and actually I noticed they announced this back in June, but I hadn't heard of it, is the Java Management Service, which is poorly named because the acronym is JMS, which is Java Messaging Service.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they did that. But the benefit of this you also get with your Java SC subscription, is you can monitor all the JVMs that are running either in the Oracle cloud or in other clouds, apparently.
Yeah.
And you can find out what version of the JDK is running. I forgot what all the things are, but all the different properties of the JVMs that are running. Basically, you just install an agent and it spits out information about it. So So to me, this was a pretty smart idea. I'm actually just going to show my browser here for
and to step back for a minute, this may have been what I was thinking of with this Java management.
Okay, I was wondering about that. Okay.
Yeah. So thank you for bringing this up.
Yeah, you're welcome. So basically you have all of your different clouds, and you use you install an agent and it sends information, and then you get a nice little dashboard. And the dashboard shows you stuff like it's kind of a blurry picture, but what version of the JDK you have running, what vendor it is, the security stuff, how many instances, and stuff. So this, to me, I was like, okay, if you're one of those companies that actually has dozens or hundreds or thousands of JVMs running, this is actually really useful, because this also helps with patching and all that kind of stuff. And also this application inventory I thought is kind of interesting. I'm not really sure how that works. But so I have no idea how much this costs. Apparently, like everything else, you can get started for free, and then it'll probably ramp up and become more expensive the more stuff you get. But
is this also the a service in the cloud as well?
Yeah, I think it's part of,
I see.
It runs in the Oracle
cloud. In the cloud. Oh, see. Okay.
Yeah. And then, but I don't know. Apparently, you can use it to manage other clouds as well. But of course, I have no idea how that works. So
right.
But so to me, this was just looking at it, I was like, that really is a really compelling product. So I wish them success. I don't know if I have any clients that would use it, but I know there are some companies that have hundreds or thousands of JVMs, and they could probably definitely use it. So
it's interesting. When I heard Oracle is doing more on Java 8, so maybe a lot of customers are still on Java 8. The other interesting bit I have found out in my conference talks, basically ask them show hands which Java they use. I found out a lot of the Java 8 and Java 17, not many Java 11 for some reason. Yes, so it's basically like Jackson London. So I run a workshop, and I said, "Oh, which Java you use?" I think it's nearly half use the Java 8, and then they directly the other one is the 17. Basically, they directly moved from 8 to 17. They jumped through 11.
Well, I guess
very interesting.
I've noticed that, like I worked at places where we use JDK 11, and I was pretty happy. I was like, great, okay, I'm actually using something that isn't ancient, But I guess if you skipped 11, 17 seems like a logical
yes,
jump, right? So
yeah. No, I'm using Java 19.
I need to play with that because what I'm really we'll talk about this in a minute. I want to talk about virtual thread stuff because that to me is one of the more compelling 19 features. But also, I mean, even just a lot of there's so much great stuff in there. I don't know, we've been going on for a long time. So all right. So I don't want to spend forever on JavaOne. Anyone else have anything else they want to mention about JavaOne?
The only thing I want to mention is they'll be having it again next year in Las Vegas. It'll be in September next year. Right. So you should definitely check it out. I think it was a great conference, and it's only going to get better.
Yeah, and I think if they're managed to keep the way they did JavaOne the same this year as they did the next year as they did this year, I think it'll be even bigger and better. So
I think so.
Yeah, hopefully it's next year going to be an open CFP. Next year,
yes,
bigger.
That would be nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So since Ian's here, Ian's not here. I found one web thing to talk about because most of the front end stuff I deal with is TypeScript and web components, and I haven't seen any new news in that. But I did notice Angular 15 is now out, and Angular I've led a couple Angular projects, but it's been like a couple years, and now when I read this stuff, I'm like, I think if I do another Angular project, I'm going to have to spend like a few days just catching up on how much stuff has drastically changed. So they've got this standalone APIs, which allow you to build an app without the ng modules. Ng modules are their own like special module system. It's different than the ES modules and everything. They've got router and HTTP client tree shakeable standalone APIs, so more standalone stuff. A directive composition API. Image directive is now stable. Functional router guards, which sounds pretty handy. Router unwraps default imports, don't quite get what that is. And better stack traces, which are always great in any framework to have better stack traces. So that is out now. Actually, I think this is what is this, beta or? Oh no, it's actually the final release. Okay, yeah, that just came out actually a couple days ago. So we're in Angular 15 is out now, and one of the things, one of the complaints about Angular is they always break backwards compatibility on everything, but they do have a really good site where you can actually pick what version of Angular you're at, what version you're going to, and it'll tell you what you need to change to migrate. So if you're afraid of the new versions of Angular, I don't know what the link is for that. I can try and find it, but it's pretty handy. At least they understand that it's an issue and they made it easy for you to handle it. So that's nice.
Yeah.
What is this called? Site. Okay. So that's the web portion of the show. So I wanted to talk a little bit about server-side Java stuff. Actually, really, what I'm looking at is JDK 19 introduced the virtual threads fruit of Project Loom. That was clever, right? Virtual threads allow you to have lots of threads that you create in your code, but have the JVM map those to actual threads running on the underlying operating system. So, and by doing that, you can instantiate a whole bunch of threads, and then the JVM decides when they actually run. I'm oversimplifying this. You guys may be able to explain it better. But anyway, so, but what, and I really hadn't been super interested in it. I was like, okay, yeah, sounds interesting. I don't really instantiate threads a lot in my code. So, but I realized that really the main benefit for those of us writing microservices and even larger Java server apps is that the runtimes or the frameworks that we use, whether it's Microprofile or some other framework or Micronaut or whatever, or Jakarta EE, the implementations can actually take advantage of virtual threads.
Right.
And then I was like, okay, now I'm really interested because, and one of the main reasons that a lot of servers have started using more of the reactive programming styles is so that they get higher throughput, right? Because you don't have a thread per request sort of model. And virtual threads may allow you to use that thread per request model, which is a simpler programming model, and still have really good performance. So I've been kind of excited about this. Helidon, which is Oracle's Microprofile implementation that also has some Jakarta EE stuff in there, that has preliminary support for virtual threads using Helidon Níma. I know Quarkus is looking at this in Quarkus. They actually already have experimental support as well. And I didn't know what your story is on the Open Liberty front with virtual threads, Emily. Any thoughts?
Oh yeah, yes. One of the great feature for Open Liberty is basically self-tuning thread pool. So basically, the customer don't even need to tune their thread pool. We have a really like intelligent algorithm to work out the thread pool. So we are also trying to work out how much virtual thread can help, or how can we utilize the virtual thread for this. The other thing, one thing is for the virtual thread, it seems like the JVM pretty much managing the virtual thread. I don't know, is in the real case scenario, and it must have some configuration, like the customer could also specify and configure virtual thread and etc. Yeah, I think I will wait and see, and in the real case scenario, I mean, how much performance it can do for the very computer intensive operations.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if things like Jakarta concurrency at some point would start to try and take advantage of this. I think they will, because it kind of makes sense, especially if you're able to get so much better performance with it, like we've seen in some of the demos.
Yeah, absolutely. We discussed on the Jakarta course regarding the virtual thread for exactly Jakarta concurrency. It's all the synchronized stuff. Oh, by the way, oh gosh, I might run out battery soon because I forgot to bring my charger here.
Oh no!
Yeah.
How much battery do you have left, Emily?
I think it's saying we soon, unless plug it's got red. It's fully charged earlier, and suddenly the Zoom eaten up all the power. Oh gosh.
Do you want to turn off your video? See how much longer we get you?
Yeah, good idea. Let me turn off my video.
So sad we don't get to see Emily anymore. All right, so since you're almost out of time, Emily, why don't we talk about you for a minute?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned before, Emily is very well known in the Jakarta EE Microprofile and in Open Liberty space. You've also been involved with a whole bunch of specs. Oh, hey, there's Danno. You've been involved with Microprofile config, fault tolerance, and also Jakarta EE, Jakarta config, and Jakarta CDI. Have you been involved in any other ones, or did I get them all?
Yeah, it's also the Jakarta interceptor.
Yes.
I mean, this year I spent more time on the Jakarta field as well. So it's basically Microprofile and Jakarta, they co-exist and work together quite nicely. So it's basically trying Open Liberty is a great demonstration for this ecosystem. So it's also in Microprofile, we're trying to align with the new Jakarta releases, like Microprofile 6 is aligning with Jakarta EE 10 core profile. Because the core profile was created because the request from Microprofile, and especially it's kind of Microprofile trying to rely on this CDI like JSON, BEP, and also it's like RESTful web services, CDI, and etc. etc. So it's basically is we want to just streamline, and also it's basically it's demonstrate as a great cloud native programming model for the cloud native application development.
Awesome.
Nice.
So welcome, Danno, by the way, since you just joined. And then I think you
Hi,
went.
Danno.
All right, I guess he left again. Okay. So Emily, I've known you in this context, but you want to tell us a little bit about like your sort of background, your history in the world of Emily Jiang?
Yeah, it's interesting. Actually, it's at the moment, like I live in the UK. I grew up in China. I did my university first degree in Shanghai, and then I came over to the UK. I did a master's degree, and then later on I settled here. My husband is also in the UK. I have 2 children. They are all awesome. And I spent in the past probably how many years? 7 years. I work on primarily on the open source projects, Microprofile, Jakarta EE, and Open Liberty. So it's in Microprofile, I kind of heavily involved like in many specifications, and also leading all the releases and also other kind of roadmap discussion and etc. So it's I involved in the first spec, which is Microprofile config. So establish the structure and all the release, and set up a lot of the kind of different like the way how to release, and then it's kind of help out with the other spec, and then also if heavily involved in the fault tolerance. Yeah, it's going quite well, and thoroughly enjoy the time spending on the open source community. And as I mentioned earlier, I started getting more and more involved in Jakarta land as well. Yeah. On the Open Liberty side, I'm leading the implementation for Microprofile, also help out the implementation for Jakarta EE. Open Liberty is a strong supporter for this open source project, open source like a standard Microprofile and Jakarta EE. So it's also, this is a great way we just demonstrate open source, help open source. Like Open Liberty was used to drive Microprofile releases, like use it to drive like 401, Microprofile 5, and at the moment driving Microprofile 6 release. I'm pretty excited for Microprofile 6 release. Hopefully we can release it this year. Yeah.
Yeah, so I saw your email the other day about the release schedule. So that's exciting.
Yeah, getting there.
So a question about Microprofile 6. Right now, Microprofile 5, can you use that with JDK 17, or is that going to be targeted towards 6?
Yeah, you can use the any Java version from 8 onwards, like Liberty supports 8, 7, 11, 17.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's basically the API. Many of the APIs still on 8, but you can use 17 for your application, or the API will work without any problem. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, and Jakarta EE as well. Jakarta EE 10 for sure. Yeah. So, yep, it's nice to see that as a Jakarta EE developer, Java EE And we used to have to stay on JDK 8. It's just nice to now be able to start to use the latest features of JDK.
Finally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, if you're more in the Spring Boot Camp or I just want to get my job done, I don't really know what framework is what camp, then you can think of Microprofile sort of like Spring Boot, sort of, but using Jakarta EE and different standards as opposed to what you get in Spring, but it's the same general idea. So Emily, what were you doing before your pretty awesome gig at IBM?
Yeah, it's actually interesting. In China, I was a lecturer. Yeah, it's a very I taught computing in university, and then and then it's I worked in a couple companies before IBM, but all like programming related in the computing side. Yeah.
So this is why you like to do a lot of speaking and teaching, then, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. I think his probably is kind of the first I spent in China for a couple of years and lecturing undergraduates. There's at that time, oh gosh, is really I was quite nervous and spent a lot of time to the prep. I think I learned tons of stuff because the thing is, if I want to cover like 45 minutes content, I need to spend at least 2 weeks time to do all the kind of information gathering and prepare all the questions. I read so much things like around the topic and also surrounding topics. I think I built up a lot of knowledge then, which helped with my conference speaking because I always think about my students. So so that's great, awesome.
Nice.
How to explain things in a simple term or something like that.
Yep. So Danno, where Emily's battery is dying. Oh wait, you've no audio.
Oh yeah, I'm here. Test 1, 2.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So Emily's battery is dying. So we thought we'd jump in and get through and pepper her with questions. Since you just joined, got any questions for Emily? Any topics you want to discuss?
Why are you so awesome? Or did you cover that already?
So awesome. Yeah, I was awesome by nature.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I'm a little bit of context because I was doing a 1 hour workshop just right now. But it's always great to see Emily as well. And I think, did I see you in April, Emily, or was that the previous DevNexus?
I think probably previous DevNexus. Oh, did I see you at this year's DevNexus?
Yes.
Oh, probably,
so.
Yeah. We also saw each other at this year's DevNexus. I've been to DevNexus for quite a few years.
I think that's where we met as well. Yeah. So that's where I made your acquaintance.
Yeah, great to see you here as well. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. So, Kito, what was it that and Emily and Josh, what was it that you were all talking about?
Well, we were just we went through some of the topics, the JavaOne and server side Java and front end stuff. But now we're just talking about Emily's area of focus and her background and everything.
Oh, excellent.
I've got a question for you, Emily. So this book, Practical Cloud Native Java Development with Microprofile, is that your first book?
Yes, this is my first book. Yeah, it was. And then it's the other one. The other I would only contribute a couple a couple of pages about 97 things every Java developer must know about. I think it's So it's I think that was by Kevin and Trisha Gee, and I think it's from many Java champions and also influential Java developers. But this is practical cloud native application development with Microprofile, I spend so much time to basically is to lay out all the structure because I'm the main author. So basically I create all the structure, and then I invited my co-authors to work with me. It was a great journey. Yeah. And I wrote this one during COVID. So this is one thing is about good about COVID. I didn't need to travel anywhere. So I spent mostly weekends and evenings in my spare time. I wrote this book. I felt so good afterwards. But it was a lot of hard work. Yeah.
You did it. You did it smart. I just wasted my life playing video games and not doing anything constructive. So,
yeah, it's one thing
I look up to you on like how to handle pandemics and actually do stuff. So that's very excellent that you did that.
Yeah.
Actually, tell you some true story. I had no choice because during a pandemic, I had my house renovated. So my family, the whole family, we rented. We bought like a mobile house, put it in the front garden. So really tiny. I didn't have much. We didn't have any kind of entertainment things, and then the kids went to sleep during night, and then couldn't watch TV, and then so okay, I had nothing whatsoever. So I just like, okay, why don't I spend time to write this book? Yeah.
Well, that's really good use of your time, though. That's awesome.
Yes, absolutely.
So tell us about. I mean, the title says a lot about what the book is about, but like, can you tell us like who the target audience is and sort of what you cover in it?
Yeah, so the target audience is about the cloud native developers, Java developers. Nowadays, Java developers, they write applications. If they write applications, they will need this book, backend applications, because this application, if they use this cloud native application development, so they can be rest assured that this application will work natively in the cloud. Because now when you develop application, is either will run in a on-prem, like a private cloud or public cloud. So you really need like a day-to operation. So you really need to, best practices to make sure your application is has a great quality of service to associate with. And if something goes wrong, you know what goes wrong. And yeah, so it's all the Java developers, backend developers, you should have this book. You can get it from Amazon, and just type in this title. And
yeah, but what I'll do is I'll put the Amazon link on the website and on a Stack podcast too. If you're too lazy to type in the title, you can go there and get it.
I would say also anyone interested in microservices in general should definitely check it out.
Yeah, great. Yeah, thank you. And then also the other highlight for this book is it has a lot of code snippet to explain things. And also there was kind of very sophisticated.
Oh no. I was wondering how long she would last.
There goes the battery.
She doesn't have her adapter. I wonder if she's still in the mobile home. There's no.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
Oh man.
She almost made it to the end.
She did.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, she only has. We were only going to talk for 13 more minutes, so she did pretty well.
Yeah.
So that sucks.
Maybe we'll have to just cut off that last question, but we're not going to be able to, unless you can actually have her send you, or you can do some kind of audio clip back and forth in order to close her out. Unfortunately, the video will have to be cut for that.
We'll have to see how that works out. I don't know.
Yeah, you can do some video editing and audio editing.
Yeah. So how are you doing, Danno?
Oh man, I am over the moon. I had a just an hour workshop on test containers.
Oh, cool.
And using IntelliJ refactoring.
And the same workshop?
So this was, what's that? So, yeah, same presentation. Yes.
Weird. Okay.
Worked out great. So this one is, and this is using Stack Overflow driven development. So I said, if you have to use a database that you don't know anything about, write a test first. Don't even write any production code or anything, and just see how you insert a record and how you query it, and just create a test for that, and see if it works. And use a test container, which will bring up a Docker image for the database that you're interacting with, and if it's green, and write some more tests to get a better understanding about this new database. Because I said, for most of us now, our DBMSs are one of many choices, and it may not even be the end choice that you have for whatever it is you're developing on. So use test containers, write a test first to see how it interacts. Then you can start to do refactoring and start to move code into your data access objects, however you want. So I showed that, and as well as the IntelliJ refactoring. So it looked like I was just like a martial artist with code. It was so great, all packed in 1 hour. Because I was like, move methods, make that one static, introduce parameter. Oh, that was so great.
So you look like Josh Long then. Have you ever seen one of his?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a little bit slower than I am, but no, I appreciate the work. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm sure he does, and I think that's what makes him like extremely popular. Is that I've seen him before, so yeah, I think in that regard I have his style. I guess my presentation style has been a little bit of Venkat Subramaniam, a little bit of Neil Ford. Yeah.
I wish I could. I can't even handle that. I admit that I can't do live coding anymore. So I just show code now.
Here's Emily.
Hey Emily. Live coding is a little bit of a contract with the devil. In that if you make it through, you're going to look really good. But if you don't, you got a payment to make, and it's not going to be pretty.
It is.
Yep.
Emily.
Yeah, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Hey, there we go.
Yes.
Did you find your, did you lose your adapter or did you just run out of electric?
I joined via my phone.
Yeah, see now.
Oh, excellent. Okay, cool.
It's funny, we're sitting here talking about it, and I completely forgot that you could just call in. I
totally forgot that either. And then I said, oh yeah, I have fun.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. This is drama. It's like.
So what was the last thing you were talking about? Do you remember what you were answering?
Oh yeah. I just saying that book. The book basically also contain a real case scenario, like use IBM stock trader. So it's an open source project. Use Microprofile technologies, and then it's use a lot of other open source projects. So build up a really, really sophisticated app and running in the cloud. So it's basically anybody wants to see how it works, so that they can play with that. And also it has some basic foundation, background information about, as Josh said, microservices, cloud native applications, and etc. The reason why we use the cloud native applications is that include microservices and plus modular monoliths maybe. So basically, as long as they are native to the cloud, so it's they all called cloud native applications.
Right. Yeah, and I think I often say this, but everyone likes to write microservices, but I think you should write right-size services. The service that meets the business need in the most efficient way possible. So sometimes that's a few different things, and sometimes it's one thing. It just depends on what you're doing. Is that you in the background?
Oh yes, sorry. The background is really noisy. Let me go to somewhere.
It's all good.
Hear better?
Oh yeah, that's better. Cool. I had a question for you. Your book is on Microprofile 5, I guess.
Actually, the book is on the Microprofile 4.1.
Okay.
However, it's Microprofile 5 is basically just the dependencies change from JavaFX to Jakarta namespace. There's no other functional changes.
Okay, cool. Okay. So I have a question about, I've been following the Microprofile metrics stuff. And I was curious about, I know there was the Microprofile metric stuff that was in, 5.0 and earlier. And then I know 6.0 has a new API. Is that correct?
Yes. So Microprofile 5 is Microprofile metrics 5.0 is like a major change, when compared to Microprofile metrics 4.0, because the thing is the previous version of Microprofile metrics was based on the drop wizard. However, as you know, the micrometer is more popular nowadays. So it's so basically the Microprofile metrics 5.0. It's the reworked the API, and so that the implementation can pull in the micrometer, as the implementation. And also the other highlight for Microprofile metrics 5.0 is in the past, you have some endpoint like metrics base and metrics vendor metrics application. And then there's some request is what if I have a customer scope? And the Microprofile 5 now you can just at the endpoint you can do a question mask scope equals, let it be base or vendor or application or anything you define. So that's really cool. And also the 5.0 also hide some plumbing work for the micrometer. So it's basically auto box. You can use Microprofile metrics annotations without need to worry about all the registry, metrics registry.
Okay, cool.
Micrometer.
Okay, yeah, because to me, that was kind of the benefit, is being able to use sort of the standard Microprofile annotations. And if you still use micrometer as the implementation, that makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Cool. So we only have like 4 minutes left for you and Josh. Danno, you can stick around with me and wrap up the podcast after they go.
Sounds good.
So is there anything else you guys want to touch on before you?
Do you have a pick? And I don't know if Emily knows about picks.
She does, and she has no pick.
She has no pick. Oh my gosh, what is going on?
What a pick?
Pick.
What's a pick?
Pick was, remember that was the like a tool or a show or a gadget or just something you find interesting to talk about,
or something you can't live without. Yeah.
Oh, the gig. Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting. Is that is that kind of the slogan in America? Pigs. I haven't heard of it.
The word.
Yeah.
Oh, it probably is. Yeah.
Yeah. What's your pick? Take your pick.
Yeah.
We use that a lot. Yeah.
Pick of the week or something.
Oh, take your pick. Is it? We don't use much here.
Maybe we should
okay.
a better term for that.
I wonder what it is. Yeah.
Cool thing.
It's really like your favorite. Probably would be a good analogy. Like what are your favorite? Do you have a favorite tool, or do you have a favorite, favorite gadget, or do you have a favorite software programming technique that you like? Yeah, I think that's probably the way we would phrase it, I guess.
Yeah.
A different way to phrase it.
Yes, it's for the gadget and etc. Like can't think anything in particular. But one thing I want to mention is is run everywhere. I'm taking really seriously. Run everywhere. Not only describe Java, also describe me. I don't know whether you follow me, like see me, like nowadays at the conferences, I try to run as well. So it's in the past when I go to conferences, I stop running. I do a lot of running actually during lunchtime and etc. Is while I wasn't traveling. The thing is, a few years ago, I started to the conference, and then I found out if I stop running for a week, when I come back, I couldn't run. As easy as before, and so it tell you what, I need to just keep on running. Yeah. So recently, probably in the last couple of years, three years, when I go to conferences, I also run as well. So it's also I'm seeing run everywhere. Describe me as well as Java.
Right. Great. So write once Java and then run everywhere during lunch and make sure you get your exercise in. Did you do you find that your programming has gotten better now that you do this running during lunch and make sure you do it?
Yeah, absolutely. More efficient. I can write more line code. Better code.
Oh, fascinating. Yeah, you don't have brain fog and you feel great. Oh, that's excellent.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Cool. And Josh, do you have a pick?
I did have a pick. Podman Desktop. So if anyone's out there using Podman for their containers rather than Docker, Podman Desktop is definitely a tool that's trying to kind of give you the same type of features that you would have in Docker Desktop. So you can create pods, you can manage pods, you can manage containers, images, all that good stuff. Kubernetes, everything in Podman Desktop. I've not really worked with it too much yet. I've downloaded it, tinkered with it a little bit, but it looks real nice.
It does look cool. Nice. Yeah. Are you entering into this domain now, Josh? A little bit more on pods and containers?
Yeah, a little bit more. I've been working with Podman Server, so I can kind of run some containers in a locally served environment, and it's working out pretty well. So I definitely am delving a little more into it.
Yeah,
this is so cool. I also switched from Docker to Podman.
Oh, you did?
Okay. At the moment, I use the Docker desktop, but with this news, I will try out Podman.
That's definitely worth a look.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. All right. Well, I have more picks and we're just going to wrap up. But if you guys want to drop, it's okay. And Emily, it's been really great having you on. I really appreciate it. I'd like to at some point have you on again to maybe do like a deeper dive in some particular microprofile or Jakarta EE spec. I think that might be cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I would love to come back and with my a lot of the power with everything charged. Yeah.
Yes. All right, cool. And Josh, thanks for joining us as always.
Well, thank you. We'll definitely appreciate it.
Yeah. And we'll hopefully, I think we actually have the next one scheduled, don't we? I think we do in December.
I think so.
Yeah.
We're going to bring a guest back and pummel him with questions.
Yes, because that's what we like to do. So.
All right. Well, wonderful. Right. Thank you for joining us, Emily.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, guys.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So I have a pick, which is webcomponents.dev. So I just did a session for a local RBA JavaScript conference about lit.
Here comes the end.
Oh, hey, just in time.
Yeah.
So, and so I was, whenever you do a talk you haven't done in a while, you got to update updated to make sure you didn't miss anything important and what's changed and all that kind of stuff. Hey, Ian. So I ran across, and I'd seen this site before, but I hadn't actually looked at it closely. It's called webcomponents.dev, and it makes it really easy to build a web component or consume a web component using lots of different frameworks. And they have like over 64 different templates now. So of course you can use Lit, which is my favorite library. But you can also use plain JavaScript, Fast, which is a framework from Microsoft, Stencil, which is from Ionic, Vue, Preact, and like 64 other ones. And you get like the little browser-based IDE, and you can run it, and then you can even like publish it to GitHub. So you can actually build a whole little component and then run it and publish it. And they've even got little starter things using some third-party design systems. So there's a few different big companies that have web components-based design systems. One is Salesforce, their Lightning web components. Adobe has ones now called Spectrum. Fast is from Microsoft, and you can actually like go in webcomponents.dev and go to little starter apps using any one of their components, which is kind of cool. You can be like, okay, how does or you can try out an example project actually, and you just load it up inside and then play with it and see what it looks like.
Right.
So if you're interested in web components and just front-end development in general, you should check that out because it's a pretty cool little site. And it underscores to me this whole cool like online IDE thing. I know we've been talking about it for years, but I feel like 2022 is the year where it finally like became super awesome. Before it was like, yeah, I don't know, I play with that online IDE and it was okay, and I feel like it really got pretty amazing this year. So
Wonderful. Yeah, Ian, are you in?
Yeah, you there yet?
Don't hear his mic.
Hey, guys,
Hey, here he is.
There we go.
Hey.
Oh, there, you made it.
I made it. I decided, I couldn't miss the chance to pop in and say hello. I missed the last podcast, so yeah.
Are you in San
super busy,
Francisco, or is that just your background?
I wish I was. No, it's my background. I'm just playing with the backgrounds here. But no, guys, I'm glad we got a chance to connect even briefly. I hope things
We're doing a
well
pick. Do you have a pick?
I definitely, I have a pick, guys, cool. And I'm pretty excited about this. We've been talking about AI coding assistants for a while. Mm-hmm. And I had a chance to play with the GitHub Copilot and take it for a test drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have to say, guys, I'm impressed, and I'm also concerned. So I have some thoughts to share about that.
That's everyone's. That's right.
But as far as the overall experience has been amazing. I'm really pleased with it. For me, it's mostly like my experience has been. It's literally like having someone pair programming with you who's pretty smart and pretty fast at figuring out what your intentions are and efficient at coding and writing the code much faster than I can type it. So, which is great because, you're writing a method and it's a lot of the mundane kind of boilerplate code that you have to write. Like if you're writing getters and setters manually, I know you can generate that stuff, but sometimes like in my case, I was doing some additional side effects inside a getter and a setter. And it was the same for all the properties. So I had to repeat the code over and over. And after about 2 or 3 methods, this tool just figured out, okay, I see what you're doing. And it learned, what I was trying to do. And it started just doing it for me. Like I just press tab, it shows you potentially what it's going to write. Okay, tab again, good. Next one, tab, next one, tab, next one, tab. So I found it a great, assistant that way in terms of just getting through the chore of writing code. When you know what you want to write, it's just the mechanics of putting it into the editor. It works great for that. And even other things too, like, you do write a comment, you say like, okay, reverse sort this array and pick the first element or something like that. As a note to yourself, we're reversing the array and we're picking the first element. And sure enough, 3 or 4 lines of code later, there's your algorithm and it spits it out for you. So those kind of utility functions, those kind of string. Yeah, it's great.
So just let me let this settle in. So you type a comment saying what your intent is. It understands your intent and provides applicable code.
Absolutely, yeah. And it generates it. It follows your variable naming conventions. It follows your braces convention.
Okay, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is quite helpful. Like much more so, I found. Like I don't want to speak negatively about any other tool. I've tried several. This one by far, I think it's the best so far. And it could be before we talk about the concerns, but it could be that it has access because of the size of the model that it's using to learn from. The code base obviously is all the public repos on GitHub, so it's had a huge repository to work from, right? A repertoire of code. So, but yeah, the overall experience has been very good. Where it gets into concerning territory is copyright infringement potentially, right? You're writing code. You don't want to type like some matrix function and then boom, it spits out somebody's like copyrighted algorithm or some code that I copy pasted from GitHub that is under a different licensing terms than what you're using for your project. So my concern was mostly around that. Like now there's a lawsuit actually being filed, a class action lawsuit against Microsoft and this GitHub Copilot thing, saying that like it's too easy to infringe on open source software licensing, copyleft style licenses. So that's a concern. But if there's a way, they basically put the onus on the user to say like, our code might be lifted from a public repository. It's up to you to verify the quality of the code, but they don't say about anything about the licensing of the code. So the assumption is that it was all like, open source licenses, that it's free to use. It's a fair use model. So they're defending it in that way. And yeah, I mean, so far everything I've seen it generate has been trivially like 3 or 4 lines of code at most, like occasionally, 10, 15 line function, but I carefully code review it. And it's like, yeah, this is pretty standard. There's nothing, doesn't look like anything proprietary going on here. But I know some researchers have tried to see if it could reproduce their own code verbatim, and it has. So there's some concern that
interesting.
Yeah, that it's not distinguishing between the licensing terms of the different repositories. But there is one feature that I turned on from the start, which is for it to check before it generates the code fragment for you. It will check whether or not that's a known match to a public code repository. And if it is, it will dismiss it. It won't suggest it, which I enabled right away because I don't want to lift anyone's code without attribution or permission. So it makes sure it checks. So even within its own model, like the intelligence it already has is amazing. It can help you get through your code. And the marketing emails I've been getting from GitHub have been about, put the joy back into your programming. And I have to say, it's a lot of fun to see your ideas come together quicker, and that's one of the nice things about it.
Fascinating. I'm kind of cool you brought this up because I was using this before, and I think I remember if it's earlier this year. I know I had it as a pick at one of the previous episodes, either early this year or late last year. And like I did enjoy it, but I don't think I didn't know either it's advanced. It's probably advanced more, and there's probably some things I didn't know that it did. So I didn't know I could type in the comments and it would do anything. I also would find a lot of times it would generate some bad code, and I'd be like, I don't like this code. I don't want.
Yeah. Definitely can. Sometimes it's like, no, that's not what I mean, right? But what's cool is before you commit to the suggestion, you can actually page through a couple of different suggestions. There's a shortcut key to say, if you don't really like this one, how about this one? And they're all very similar variations on a theme. And you can also hit escape and it clears the suggestion. So I find sometimes I write a line of code and I stop and think for a sec about what I'm trying to do, and it generates some code. It's like, no, don't interrupt me. I'm trying to think. So there's a relationship with the Copilot that you build over time. I think as you're learning when to enable it, when to disable it, how to guide it. But overall, like for the boilerplate stuff, it's gold. Like just helps you get through that stuff fast.
I'm gonna because I did sign up for it because I was a beta person, and then when they said it was so cheap, I'm like, I'll just try it, but when I switched, I think the problem is I was using VS Code, and of course it was really easy to turn on VS Code, and then I switched back to IntelliJ, and I haven't gotten around to enabling IntelliJ because it does have support.
Yeah. I've been using it in IntelliJ based IDEs, and I have to say I really like it. It's definitely two thumbs up.
I'll
That's my pick.
Again. All right, cool. Did you have a pick, Danno?
Yes. So I posted this on the chat. We're about to get a little maybe not even politics. I don't know, but things that are going on right now. Some dude whose initials are E and M, he just purchased Twitter for $44 billion. I don't know if you know.
OMG.
Yeah, OMG. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Anyway, here, let me. Here's the. I'll put that here on video, and I'll transcribe it for our listeners. Part of today will be. So this is from how do you pronounce Elon Musk or something like that? Anyway, so part of today will be turning off the microservices. Man, I read that. I'm like, yo, what are you talking about?
Man.
I love how he puts it in quotes, like microservices.
Ew, look at this. Oh, look how disgusting these microservices are. Anyway, he's turning off the microservices bloatware. Less than 20% are actually needed for. Like, hey, just arbitrarily, I don't like those. Let's cut them out.
Yeah.
Don't log out of Twitter if you have two-factor authentication. The microservice has been shut down. So I'm like, man, this is just like chaos. Like I'm kind of enjoying watching it burn, and I've never seen $44 billion burn that fast. I guess the latest valuation of Twitter is like at $8 billion. So all that is like gone.
Oh my God!
Yikes! Yeah, it's crazy.
Did you hear the news today?
No, what?
Well, yesterday was the deadline for this ultimatum where he said, like,
everyone left.
if you don't like the company, get out, basically, he said. But he said, if you're willing to stay and work long, intense hours, basically it's like, yeah, if you stay, we'll work you to death. But if you don't like it here, you can quit and you get 3 months of severance. So like tons and tons of people were like, all right, fine, we quit. And they had all this chaos, and they actually had to close the main office down. And
payroll left as well, supposedly.
Payroll left.
That's from some Twitter user. So I don't know how valid it is, but supposedly they know that accounts payable and accounting. So people aren't going to be getting checks either. So they all left. And they fired the person that is in charge of making sure everyone can come into the building for security. There was no one manning that post either. So people were trying to get into the building. And it's been fun to watch.
Shut down the office. Yes.
Pretty crazy.
It's pretty much a lesson in how you mess up a company.
How not to manage a software company? Yeah. I mean, working with.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Why are microservices are essential? Now, it could go the other way. Billionaires, there are tons of people who will cover up for them. And if he lucks out and Twitter is up and running and he just skates on by, he's going to be hailed as a genius and doesn't necessarily mean he made the right decision. So we'll see what happens. It's a difficult world out there. So we have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah. And it was interesting to me, though. It's like when I look, Twitter clearly, I think it probably needed to work on their business model and be more profitable. And they probably did have some bloat. I'm sure they did. Right. But it's like you basically have killed whatever morale and culture they had. Like you came in and just ripped it out. So it seems to me like from a standpoint of actually having employees that like their job and like what they do and where they work, I don't see how you come back to that unless you get new people, right? Which is possible, right? You can get new people that build an entirely new set of people, essentially, which is probably what it's going to end up having to do.
I have here, hopefully I don't have anything shocking, but I moved on to Mastodon. I'm still going to do stuff on Twitter, but Mastodon is pretty great. It is a and that's my pick. It's a federated social networking site. You choose a server, and you generally choose a server that reflects on your life. There's one for writers. There's one for if you're more politics centric. There's one for technical people. A very popular person within our community, Chris Nova. She has like a full server. I mean, she was showing that like some of the hardware on there has names for it and everything. Really? Just impressive. And so you sign on to a server, but you could still, it's called Toot. I don't like the name. It's supposed to be like Tweet, but it's Toot. But you can still, write messages. Others can subscribe to you, much in the same way Twitter does. It's slow. It's not perfect, but neither was Twitter if you first signed on back in the first year, 15 years ago. I don't know if you remember if you were signed on to Twitter that long ago, but they had a bunch of fail whales just because networking issues and storage issues. It's a hard thing, but this is all open source. So you can make changes to your Mastodon, and it's federated. So all the servers communicate with one another. And it's very promising, and it works.
And you can decide like which server you want to federate with, right? Like
I think, and maybe I'm wrong because I'm kind of new to it as well. I think all servers are federated and communicating with one another. You just select your home base, and that's a server. Yeah. Okay. That's the way I interpret it. I may have to come back and issue a correction on our next podcast, but I think that's the way it's done.
Well, I'm going to join it because I see a lot of other. We started this, ironically, a Twitter group of a lot of the JavaOne speakers, and we've been just chatting on. First, we were talking about who got COVID, and it's morphed into what's going on Twitter because we're all in a Twitter group, right? A Twitter chat, private chat, not a group, but and all of them not all of them, but a lot of them are going to Mastodon, and I think I'm just going to do it, see how it goes. I mean, it's not going to hurt. And I've heard about it for a long time, but I never really bothered, playing
it's
with
like
it.
Twitter without the anger. And
And
I think Twitter was like that in the beginning, and maybe this is going to go that way.
Yeah, but at least it's not by a particular company, and I think that gives it a bit of an edge, and also helps with a lot of the complaints about Twitter in general. It's like, I'm curious to see what happens when all the bots and stuff get on it and start trying to do disinformation and all that kind of stuff.
Right now, it's I don't know what to call it. Halcyon, I'll call it that. Halcyon days right now within Mastodon. Everyone's there just because they want to communicate, have fun, meet one another. No one's out to anger anyone or just do bots or anything like that. So, it's a good place to be right now.
Cool. And it's decentralized, which is kind of cool. Like to see social media in a decentralized way, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of how the web was designed initially was as a decentralized global network, and now it's kind of moving back towards that. You had a few monoliths like the social media companies and empires, the Googles and the Facebooks of the world, and then now who knows? Maybe Mastodon will be part of the next wave of social media companies. I think at least at least Elon has a sense of humor about it. There was one quote from him that I found kind of funny. Was that he asked, how do you make a small fortune in social media? Start with a large one.
That is a good one.
So I think the ship is kind of sinking, and he's aware of it. But yeah, I feel bad for all the engineers who are leaving and were really felt at home in that company for a long time, and now lost a lot of their perks and their just the basic respect. I think is the main issue, right? Like it seems to step all over his workforce without much regard. But it's as someone else said, like the difference between a rocket scientist and a software engineer is a lot more opportunities for a software engineer. Like they can get like basically anything else besides Twitter is going to be a step up for that group. So if they're leaving Twitter, there's a lot of opportunities for them out there.
Plus, it's in the Bay Area. Like you're not going to necessarily hurt those employees. Like you're going to piss them off, and they're going to be irritated. But they're in the Bay Area. Give them. They're probably going to take a week off for Thanksgiving, and they're going to be, snapped up like very quickly, especially since they're already living in the Bay Area.
Plus, they have 3-month severance too, so
which is good.
Yeah, totally.
But also, I was Shrat from Oracle reminded me that not everyone is a software engineer that can easily leave, or even some people.
That's true. That's a good point.
So if you're on an H-1B visa, or you have some other thing,
right?
You have
that's the horror thing there.
Not afraid, Also, if you're not in tech, like you're like one of the thousands or probably at least hundreds of other people at Twitter who were not doing tech, you were doing some other function in the company. Your job prospects may not be quite as nice as if you're like some hotshot software engineer.
Right. Because you have security, you have the accounting that was doing the payroll and the accounts payable, the accounts receivable. Although I think accounts have good job prospects as well. Maybe not high top value, but they're always needed.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Interesting to see what happens. But speaking of the whole monolith thing, I've been thinking this lately about GitHub. I think GitHub is getting too big for its pants. Remember SourceForge?
Totally.
Yes.
There was there was someone with my exact name, and I met him. But there was a Daniel Hinojosa that worked for SourceForge. And I'd get his emails and he'd get mine, or, people will think he's me and I'm him, but he worked at SourceForge. I think he submitted a talk for O'Reilly, where I'll do a lot of O'Reilly talks. I think he got in, and it could very well be because of like my name, because we have the same name. Oh, Dan wants to do a talk. Yeah, let's see how this goes. But I remember SourceForge because it was great. Like the people at Red Hat and at the time JBoss were like, oh yeah, why don't you do a talk with us and talk about SourceForge? I'm like, no, I don't work at SourceForge. Oh man, but he's a great guy too, and so we have the same name. We met once. We joked that if we ever meet, it will collapse the universe, and we should never meet, but we did. Universe is fine. Yeah.
Yes.
But go ahead. I didn't mean to derail.
It's okay. It's okay. I was just thinking about this whole federated idea. Maybe we should do that with I know Git in and of itself is distributed, but GitHub, not so much. So
interesting. I don't know.
That's an interesting thought.
Those SourceForge was interesting, like kind of as a distribution tool. I guess obviously they do repos too, right? But I don't know if I could ever switch back or switch to that from GitHub, but it's an interesting thought.
GitHub is.
You know what, Kito?
What?
Get fed.
Get fed. All right.
Named it. Boom.
Get fed. I'm looking for getfed.com.
Do it. Yeah, do it.
No, it doesn't work.
Oh man.
Anyways.
Federated Git.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I like it.
Have you guys tried IPFS?
Nope.
That's a federated file system called the Interplanetary File System.
Oh,
IPFS.
Interesting.
And so you could store files. The internet is your hard drive, and you could share links to it. And it's, a lot of these, I was doing a talk on Kafka and about immutable data structures and immutability and how we store information now. And someone said, oh, is it like blockchain or, Bitcoin? I'm like, you know what? I didn't even really think about it. But a lot of our technology is very much related in the way that, blockchain is done with, immutable storage. IPFS is immutable storage. Federated, we have Mastodon, which is federated. It is, our lives and our architecture, I think we found out as humans, for now, at least the best way to go is have tons of machines, have tons of immutability, and store things across the internet. And who knows, maybe that's the way we're going to be from here on out. So, know this architecture because, that's the way we're going to operate from here on out.
I'm going to check this out. Interplanetary operating system or file system. Fascinating.
Yep. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we should probably wrap up.
Yeah, guys, I have to merge some pull requests. Speaking of Git, I have some work to do. But
all right.
How many files?
How many files? Luckily, they're small. They're small, but there's a lot of lint. We're dealing with lots of lint issues. So Sonar lint. We're love Sonar, guys. I don't know if you've used Sonar.
Sure, Sonar is it?
Oh man, it's a lifesaver. I'm learning that, I feel like, I had these great lint rules with Angular 1, and then I don't know what happened. The Angular 2 came along, and they rewrote the whole linting structure, like TS-lint. And now that got deprecated. So now there's ES-lint. And every time I had these great rules, and then the rules are gone, like they become obsolete. And then the code issues start creeping in again. And you have to figure out how to re-implement all those lint rules. Things like non-obvious stuff, like how many levels of class hierarchy, minimum and maximum levels of class hierarchy, right? Depending on the type of class that you're working with. Things like enforcing return types on a function. I'd love to be able to turn that on. Just a lot of lazy stuff, like using any type in TypeScript.
Yeah,
it should be an instant fail, right?
Indeed. Indeed. All right. Let's wrap up. Just as we always say, if you like this podcast, check out Pubhouse Network. pubhousenetwork.com, and you can find there also Offheap and the Java Pubhouse, two other really awesome podcasts, and you can also find them on your podcast tool, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or something else. And in terms of events coming up, Jakarta One live stream, which I'll be speaking at. And I think Josh might be involved in that one as well. That is December 6th. That's online. This should be out before then, hopefully. And Spring One is December 6th through 8th, all virtual. You want to talk about the no flush stuff, Danno? No.
Yeah, we have ArchConf and a few other ones. I'm not looking at the notes right now, but that's in December at Clearwater, Florida. Nice and warm, beautiful. So I'll be there, and it's gonna be great.
Yeah, it's a Progressive Web Experience, Tech Leader Summit, and ArchConf are all the same. Oh, they're like back to back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So right. So December 4th through 7th is Progressive Web Experience, and Tech Leader Summit is 7th through 9th, and ArchConf is 12th through 15th. That's interesting. So if you're really, really hardcore, you can stay for like, a whole week.
Yeah.
Or a week and a half, and then see like every conference.
Right. You go to the beach. There's a hot tub there. There's a swimming pool there.
Very nice.
There's like 3 bars if you're into that, and lots of sunlight, and it's beautiful. No jacket required, no sweater required, really. Maybe in the evening, but sure beats if you live up north. So worth it.
Yep. Okay. And then if you're okay with cold weather, you can come to CodeMash in January 12th through 15th in Sandusky, Ohio. And I'll be at
that has a water park, so all that's an indoor water park.
Yes, it has an indoor water park. I should bring my family, but I probably won't. So I'll be there doing GraphQL and capacitor.
Cool. Yeah, I don't want to. I'm not trying to be right. It's an excellent conference. It's a lot of fun. It is kind of weird that you open the door, there's snow, and then you walk in and everyone's like in a swimsuit and at a water park. I don't think that's a negative thing I'm saying. Just be prepared. Just prepare your eyes and your experience for that. That's going to be kind of awkward.
It's funny. Yeah. And also in January is J Champions Conf, which is a lot of Java champions speaking. And I'm actually on the I don't know what you call it, but the group of people that actually picks the sessions this time. It's my first time doing this. It's a lot of fun. So I can tell you firsthand, there's going to be a lot of really great talks, a lot of deep dive Java stuff, and a lot of great stuff from a lot of really smart people. So that's online and free. And then April is Dev Nexus 2023 in Atlanta, Georgia. So
cool. Call for papers is open.
yes, it
I
is.
need to get mine in today.
Me too. Oh, actually, no, I think it just got extended, right? Yeah, got
Maybe.
extended. Yeah. So you have until like Monday, I think. So
It's
right,
the, I don't know. You know what? How was JavaOne? It wasn't very packed, was it?
no, it wasn't. But you should listen to the podcast. We have this great section where we talk all about JavaOne.
Good.
That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
I'll take a listen.
But
I was supposed to go, but some folks in the UK had booked me for that week.
Right.
And they gave me a free ticket to JavaOne, but it was already too late. And I love the free tickets, and I love that everyone, invites me to these things. Unfortunately, though, I always get invited like 2 weeks before the event. And so
hopefully next year, though, I think next year, though, will be a little more organized. But it turned out really great. It was a lot of fun.
oh, great. Yeah. And good for Sherrod, too. I'm really impressed that he did this right immediately after the pandemic. That's just hard work to do. And
It was.
he took on a lot by doing that. So, but yeah, I'm glad that worked out.
But yeah, it was a really great conference. So I think you guys should both plan on coming next year. Ian.
Oh, I'd love to go. I would definitely like to go visit JavaOne at some point. Man, it's been a while since I've been up to a conference, and that would be fun for sure.
But the reason I said that, because DevNexus has always been like second to JavaOne as far as size. This year they may have taken first place though. So
yeah,
but we'll see. There's a good competition going on now.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice.
All right. Well, I think we've come to end of another long and exciting Stack podcast. And this is kind of neat. We have like two sets of people come in and out. So Ian, you missed Emily and Josh, and Danno overlapped with them for like 5 minutes. So it's been this whole.
I think we should have a podcast where like Kito stays on all day and like even takes naps or whatever, and like whoever pops in, he'll have a conversation with them.
Yeah,
nice, like a revolving door policy, right?
Yeah.
Come on in. See you later.
You wake up. What? Oh, hey, how's it going?
Yeah, it would be kind of scary. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us, and thank you everyone for listening to another Stack podcast. And we will see you next time.
Happy Thanksgiving. Yep.
Have a nice weekend.